Hello and welcome to the Hangout. Please bear with me because I'm not super slick at doing this, but I've got some really content I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. So let's just see if we can get this. Here we go. Good. So welcome. Thank you for and share. Let's just check this is showing the right thing. Thank you. Just if you just bear with me for a moment, and what I'd like you to do is just make sure you have a pad of paper, some pen, and just so you can jot down some things. And thank you so much for the messages to say people are listening. I think there's a few people here, so this is great. And I'm just getting myself a little bit tangled in this technology. So what I'd like you to do right now is I'd like you to start thinking about yourself as far as having the best day, the best life, the best month of your year. And I want you to think through to when did you have, what would be your top 5 best days of your life ever so far? And I'd like you to just think back to those and just jot down something about those. What was it about those that made them super great? And we're going to use that a bit later on. So just start to jot down. Doesn't matter if you can't remember exactly when it was, but I just want you to start to think back to those and jot those down. And just let me just see if I can get myself a bit untangled here with this technology. Great. So we're going to go through this, and some of the things I'm going to cover off today are as follows. And let's see if could someone just send me a message to say maybe Aisha, you could just message me again. I'm getting your Facebook messages through as little notifications. Maybe you just send me a message to let me know if you can see the screen that says the best month of your life, June 2016. Are you ready? And just so I know if you're seeing what I'm seeing on the screen there, and just to check that's working all right. I'm going to advance on to just a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be covering today. And so okay, let's get rid of that. And Google seems to have taken control of my computer and I can't get it back. So hopefully that'll come back in just a second. Thanks for your patience. So let's just stop that for a second. Might just have to do this on voice and come back to it. And maybe I'll just read out to you what's on the slides for now. And I am going to get better at this. You know, one of the points I want to share with you guys later is about taking imperfect action and getting started. So I might just read these out to you. So here's what we're going to go through. First up is who's the webinar for? Who am I? Who's this dude on the other end of the screen? And you know, what in my journey could be something that could qualify me or help me or make me want to get involved in this and listen to this. Then I'm going to share with you some clues for the journey, some things that can help you, and to help you really set yourself up for success if you decide that you want to go on this journey to create the best month of your life. Next up, I'm going to share a little tool with you called the Wheel of Inspiration. And there are some next steps that you might like to follow up and but there really is nothing for sale here. It's just really to give this content to you, and you're going to get so much value from this. And we're going to finish up with this beautiful manifestation meditation, which is something that I've drawn together from a few different sources. So so how does that sound? Sound good? All right. So we're going to get started with just a little bit, just to check that if you're listening live or you're watching the replay, there's a bit of time involved here. And what I want to do is just check that you're in the right place, help you just check you're in the right place. So who is this for and who is this not for? This is for people who are curious and open and willing to learn and to learn from their mistakes. This isn't going to work so well for people who think they already know. And this also isn't going to work for people who are perfectionists, who have to get everything right. So I invite you, if you're a perfectionist and you want to quit, that's cool. But really the key is to be able to learn from your mistakes. Now, this is for people who are action takers. This is not for people who are excuse makers. And it's also not for people who are looking for someone perfect to learn from, because I'm certainly not perfect. And it is for you if you are open to just taking some ideas and really making them your own and getting empowered with those. So just so we're straight up front, I'm not perfect. I make loads of mistakes the whole time. I get things wrong. I throw myself into situations which are challenging, and I figure it out as I go along. And so but what I will say is I'm here to be in service, and my intention is to give to you and to help you and offer this to you. And if you find it useful, you're so welcome to use it and run with it. All right, so I'm going to share a little bit about who I am. And just before that, though, I want to just talk a little bit about that. I want you to give yourself this full hour, all this time, to just really be with this material. And if you're doing other stuff, turn off your phone, turn off other devices, and just give yourself the time to really be with this and to immerse yourself in this material. And if at the end, if you've tried it 100% and it's not your thing, that's cool. But you might find that this is great. This something. I want you to find at least one thing in here that you find really useful. Now, you might experience some thoughts or feelings that take you away from just being here and being present. And they're things like, you might get a thought come up like, I've heard all this before. I know this. So me, Dunstan, I get that one a lot. If someone tells me something that I think I already know, I can tend to close down a bit. Now, you might be listening to this and you might think, oh, this is too woo-woo for me. This isn't, I don't understand about energy, or it's too spiritual. And if that's the case, I'll invite you to, I want to make this as practical and as real as possible. And I'm going to be talking about things that I've experienced personally. So if you want to be open to those things, see if you can open yourself up to that and, see what happens, be open to something new. Another belief that some people might have is, this is great for other people, but it's not going to work for me. The idea, I used to have this idea in my head that there were other people that were successful and created great lives themselves, but they were sort of different to me. And so again, there's another belief. If I share some examples from my life, and you get the thought come up of, who the hell does Dunstan think he is? What he's so arrogant, and I am arrogant at times, but just please know that I'm sharing these things in the spirit of hoping that they can be useful to you and inspiring to you. So if you get any of these thoughts come up, jot them down, make a note of them, and you can really use those as fuel for your own journey and as fuel to help you. But the key thing is to notice. Now, you might be someone who's saying yes right now. You might get to the end of the webinar and feel all inspired, and then later on feel deflated and be like, oh, I can't do this. What was I thinking? So again, that's another little sabotage pattern that can come up. Now, a part of you may be open to what I'm about to share with you, and a part of you may also be reluctant. It might not want to hear it. It might be afraid that things are going to change if you hear this information. And of course, if you apply this, things are going to change. But just bear in mind that there might be parts of you that are resisting. So how does that sound? Are you guys still on board? Because I'm really looking for people who are going to going to engage in this journey as we're talking about it, and be willing to notice when thoughts come up, when sabotage patterns come up. So so I want to introduce myself a little bit. The sort of the official introduction is that I am an inspiration coach. I'm a community catalyst, and I'm an Airbnb host. I host on a couple of boats. I love organic produce. It's a real passion of mine. I'm also super excited at the moment with my acro yoga practice, which the usual form is it involves me on my back balancing someone on my feet while they're doing yoga acrobatic type maneuvers. And my other passion is kite surfing, which is skimming along on the surface of the water, being attached by sort of 20-meter strings, four thin strings, to a powerful kite that boosts you across the water and into the air at times. So I help people really to get clear on what they want in life, and to get that as a coach. And what are my credentials for that? Well, I've done a whole load of courses, but the real main thing is life and adventures, and because that's what I help other people to experience. So I was the winner of Henley Royal Regatta in 1997 in the Temple Challenge Cup, rowing for Cambridge University. 2 weeks later, I was national champion of Great Britain, and I'm going to share a little bit about that experience in a moment, because it really was there were some of the best. Actually, that was one of the best months of my life. Absolutely, at the time, it was the best. It was a really amazing experience. Since then, I went on to do triathlon, represented Great Britain at the Worlds, and I also went on to do 7 Ironman distance triathlons, including the Hawaii Ironman. Again, it was another very testing, very challenging experience, which taught me a lot. And I spent 11 years living in Australia, during which time I trained to be a Steiner teacher, and I started a company called Bearfish Swimming. I created a technique there for swimming for adults who wanted to be able to just swim forever and keep on going all day. And I also got totally immersed in the world of self-development, learning about myself, doing a vast range of different modalities, and those are some of the things that I bring to just me now, and to share those as a gift, and hope that can inspire you, and I can pay some of that forward. So how did you go with your best day of your life, your best month of your life? Is my question for you. How did you go with that? What did you come up with? And we can start to look at that and start to just ask ourselves some questions. You know, what are the patterns that we notice there? And I've got quite a few here that I sort of thought to myself, well, what are the best days and months of my life? And what are the big patterns? You know, and we can look at this as scientists, and we can look at this as artists. So really, we're looking for you know, what happened before those amazing experiences that we've had in our lives, and what was it that created that? Now, my disclaimer for you is that I don't actually know the answer. So, you know, if you said to me, Dunstan, how can I have the best day of my life tomorrow? I actually don't know. That it's not an exact science. It's not like follow these 5 steps and you're going to have the best day or the best month of your life or something like that. It's a journey, and my intention, just in case someone gets to the end and they say, oh, you know, I followed your steps, but I didn't quite have the best day of my life, or it didn't work. You know, this is not an exact science, but what it is some clues. And if we could create a formula that could work, and you could follow it and get the best day of your life, the best month of your life, then I really think that we'd be selling you short, because there's something much bigger. And I could say to you, well, I don't know how you're going to have the best month of your life, but you do. But kind of, it's a bit of a paradox, because I actually think maybe you don't know. Certainly not your logical mind. You know, when you had those amazing experiences, did you set out beforehand and plan them? I don't know about you, but I certainly didn't just set out and plan them. There were things that happened. There were circumstances. There were events. It felt actually to me like there was something bigger than me that was. And now, whether you're open to that being your higher self, or your inner wisdom, or whether if that doesn't work for you, you might like to imagine yourself in the future at the end of June, okay, so imagine it's the 1st of July and you're looking back at the month of June. Okay, so you're there in the future, you're looking back, and how do you feel in yourself knowing that you've had a remarkable, powerful, and amazing month this June that's coming up, but you're looking backwards? So how do you feel? And what happened? And when we start to go, here are some clues that we can start to look at. So just take a moment just to imagine that. And I'm gonna share a little bit about in 1997. I really had this amazing summer. It was my last year as an undergraduate at Cambridge. It was my 4th year. I graduated, and I'd tried. It was my 2nd year of trying out for the Oxford Cambridge boat race, and I was a little on the short side, and probably lacked a lot of self-confidence, and didn't have the level of self-belief that some of the people around me had. However, I'd become pretty fit, and I had this amazing opportunity come up where, first of all, I went back from the university and rowed for my college, and we had a really strong team, and we did as well as we possibly could. It's this competition called Bumps, and you have to hit the boat in front of you. It runs over 4 days, and we hit the boats in front of us on all 4 days, went up 4 places, and it's called Getting Blades. And we finished up 2nd on the river, and we were the fastest crew out of all the colleges. And meanwhile, my buddies from the university squad, the best of all the colleges, were training for a crew to race in Henley. And I wasn't included in that, but they found out a couple of weeks before the event that one of their crew wasn't eligible. So I had this amazing opportunity presented to me. I'd been partying at the end of, celebrating the end of term, celebrating these May Bumps where we got our blades. And I got this call up saying, do you want to join us for this crew? And I'm like, we'll give you some time to think about it. I'm like, no, I don't need any time to think about it. I'm yes. And it was like, can you come out training this afternoon? And all of a sudden I sobered up pretty quickly, and we went on to race Henley, and we actually won Henley Regatta, which was an amazing sensation. It still gives me goosebumps. And maybe one time I'll show some photos of that. And then 4 of that crew, we actually went on to race 2 weeks later in the national championships. The Henley race was racing against people of our own ability. So there were much better 8s there. There were world-class 8s racing in the big competition. And we were in the sort of the college competition, but it was still, racing crews from all around the world. And we won. Going to Nat Champs was different because we were in a 4, coxless 4, so someone in the boat is actually steering it, and that was open category. So we were racing against whoever showed up for national champs. So about 30 or 40 crews showed up to race in that competition, and we were on a totally equal level playing field, racing against people who'd been to the Olympics, racing against the best crews in the country. And we actually ended up winning that race too. The story is remarkable, and I'll maybe tell that story another time, because it wasn't a story of just dominating from the start to the finish. We kind of just scraped through each round, to be quite honest with you, and we came 2nd in pretty much every race. We went through all the sort of second chance qualification stages until the very final, and something happened, and we just shifted gear, and we just had this openness to possibility that came through. And if you had told me at the start of that event that I was going to get a medal at the national championships, I would have been absolutely over the moon to get any color of medal, to be on the podium. And we actually ended up winning in the final. And so in 1997, it's a long time ago, right? But I was national champion of rowing in the coxless 4. And it was one of the proudest moments of my life, but way more than that, it showed me that I'm capable of way more than what I think is possible. So it also is something that I draw on with coaching, with my clients. Now, for me at the time, it was all about physical challenge. But what I want to share with you is that this could be in the endeavor of relationships. It could be setting up a project or a business. This could be in sport, but it's like I realized this was applicable to any area of life. We are capable. Just think about that for a moment. Maybe ask yourself the question: what if you were capable of way more than what you believe is possible? It could be to do with income. It could be to do with living an amazing life where you travel to places that you really want to go to, do things that you love doing, spend time with great people, and maybe travel around the world doing your job, doing something that you totally want to do, giving your gifts to the world. Maybe it doesn't feel like a job. Maybe it just feels like a passion. So these are the kind of questions that, you know, I was lucky enough and I had this magical opportunity really quite early in my life. You know, it's 21 to get to experience this. And looking back, you know, later in life, I went on to do a lot of triathlon, and I've mentioned a little bit of that. And my Ironman in Hawaii, I struggled with depression, and I went through days and weeks where I physically had managed to convince myself I couldn't get out of bed, and it was real. And I had no energy. And this was my saboteur playing up big time, taking away all my energy because you know, that part of me did not have its needs, weren't getting met. And so why am I telling you about this? Well, looking back for me, as I get curious, I'm like a scientist and an artist, and the artist is looking for the big picture and the scientist is looking for the details. And what is it about these experiences that I had? What's the common thread that runs through them? What are the patterns that happen there? And I'm going to share some of my patterns, and you might find that, you know, as you look at your patterns of what creates your best experiences in life, you might notice some things. And so you know, for me, I kind of think this is well worth doing, right? Because wouldn't you want more of those great experiences? And so it might not be an exact science, but what if you could learn from looking at what's happened for you in the past to create that? And, you know, I'm just going to throw a caveat out there. If there's anyone sitting there out there thinking, you know, watching this, thinking, well, that's okay for these people, but, you know, my life's pretty unhappy. I don't have these great things happening in my life. Then I really invite you to take a closer look. You know, it's easy to spot the successes. You know, for me in my early life, it was all about sport and physical challenges. And some of my wins, my great months nowadays, you know, they're not really as spectacular in terms of, you know, being able to share them with other people. But in terms of the inner work that I'm doing and what's really happening for me, they're way bigger. So it could be, you know, if you're a mother and you've experienced like a period of time or a moment where you really just felt so connected to that, and you knew that you were supporting your son or sons or daughters in an amazing way, you know, please be open to the fact that you have had amazing experiences in your life, and that we want to look at those, because it's a little trap just to say, oh, great things don't happen to me in my life, because they do. And I want you to look a little closer if that's you. So thank you. And so here we are. Here are the things that I noticed. First up, as I've mentioned, at the time, those were physical challenges. That was how that was my vehicle for growth, was doing sports, whether it was sailing or running or rowing or triathlon. That was my main vehicle for growth. And nowadays I still do physical things, but I'm learning more from everything. So what happened? What else about it? What did I notice? Well, what I noticed were that there was a certain factor of going for it and committing, even if I didn't know how. Yeah. So oftentimes we want to know what are the steps that we have to follow. And it's like, if you tell me the steps that I have to follow and guarantee me I'm going to get a result at the end, then I'll go ahead and follow the steps. But really, I think that's limited. And, you know, if you're going to achieve something that's never been achieved before, maybe those steps don't work. Maybe you got to figure out your own steps. And I really encourage you and invite you to go for that, because you're a being with this massive creative potential, and your biography, your life is unique. So the kind of things that you're going to be going for, I hope, are things that maybe no one's ever done before. So how can someone teach you that step by step if it's never been done before? So what if you were to commit and say, yeah, go for it, and not know how? You know the what that you want. Imagine how you feel looking backwards. But it's like that expression, leap before you look. You know, it's like you take your first step out into the unknown, and it's like the stepping stone will appear. It's trust. And so going for it and getting started. Now, the next thing that I noticed was that there was actually, you know, I didn't just rock up and win the national championships or rock up and have a good race in Hawaii at doing triathlon. There was preparation that went into it. And my preparation was flawed and totally imperfect, especially for that Hawaii race. You know, like my training diary was like an Emmental Swiss cheese. It had that many gaps in it. But that didn't matter because I mean, I probably would have done better if I'd trained better. But what I did was good training, and the good things that I did, you know, you can be defined by the good positive actions that you take, and you may not be perfect, but you can still get amazing results. So that's a real relief that, you know, if you skip a day of training, or, you know, you miss a day when you've promised you're going to do it every day, it's okay. You know, like you can still get what you want, right? So there was preparation, but the big thing here was that there was coming up against obstacles. There was the moment when I was told by my coach at Cambridge, hey, you're going to get your chance to try out for the reserve crew, for the Goldie crew. And, you know, I never got that chance. I was never given a seat race. I was never given that man-to-man chance. And at the time, I didn't really have a voice. I didn't speak up about it. So I just accepted that. But in a way, I did get my chance because I got the chance to be in these other crews. So it kind of, yeah, but it was challenging because I was doing all the training, and I didn't get involved I didn't get to race in the crew in one of the crews for the boat race. But so that's an example. I've already touched a little bit on that, the feelings of depression that I had when I was training for Hawaii. But you know, what happened in each of those situations was there was something happened in me, like a certain amount of surrender, just letting go, and accepting what was, and that was sort of the moment when things seemed to create some kind of a shift of just letting go and stopping fighting. So the fifth point I've got here jotted down was that there was some element of surrender and letting go. And that was when the magic started to really happen in all these examples I look back at. And I surprised myself. And then I got this massive surge of energy from those events and those moments. It was like that energy was locked underneath my resistance, which when I could let go of it, that energy came out and was released, and it spilled into all areas of my life. That summer in '97, I felt unstoppable. I felt bulletproof. I was like, I mean, I was still pretty young with it all, but I just knew I had this tangible experience of, wow, I can do amazing things. And, you know, I lost that and found that again over the years. And now my practice is to create that again and again and again. So the final point here I've got is that in all those cases, life is not the same afterwards. Life is different. Who I am changes through these experiences. Who you are changes through these amazing experiences that you create for yourself, that the universe gifts to you, or that you experience in life. So one of my mentors, when I was training to be a Steiner teacher, shared this beautiful picture with me, and he said, his name is Ronan, and he spoke this real basic, simple truth to me. And what he said was, in life, it's like you're like flying along, and you're like a dove, and there's two wings to the dove, and for the dove to fly, both wings have got to be working. And on the one side, the one wing is the effort that you make, the steps that you take, the action that, you know, the human effort that you put in. And on the other hand is something called grace. Now, at the time, I was trained to be a Steiner teacher. At the time, I was like quite left brain, logical, had done engineering at Cambridge, and I was quite, you know, it was quite linear, logical. But this is a beautiful idea, and I could see it was true. So what's required is the effort and allowing the grace. Now, that could be leaving space in your schedule for serendipity to work. It's really about leaving space for something bigger than you to help. Like we talked about this earlier, whether it's your higher self or grace or what it might be. And there's a certain amount of like letting go to allow that magic to happen. And I want to share a little quote with you. This is one of my favorite quotes, which keeps on coming up for me in my life. And it's by a chap called Goethe. And I'm just going to read this out for you. So, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance which no man could have dreamed would have come his way. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. So that quote has been with me and really supporting me powerfully in my life. And yeah, so you know, it really for me speaks to the two wings of the dove. You know, if someone's trying to fly just on their human effort, and you know, they're not allowing space for grace or serendipity, it's hard work, and the kind of the dove's struggling and going around in circles and making progress, but it's really hard. If there's no action going on and the dove's just trying to fly on the wing of grace and just sort of waiting for the universe to make everything happen, or waiting for someone else to make things happen, then that's not going to work either. So it's that beautiful balance of both of those things. So I did say I wasn't going to share any techniques with you, but there is one thing which I've created, which is, I call it the Wheel of Inspiration. And it's let me just see if I can overcome this this technical issue enough to just be able to show this to you, just to show you this graphic. So how do we do this? So I'm going to share my screen. I really do have to get slicker at these, but we'll get there. Like I said, I'm not perfect, and I think I'm not going to be able to show this to you. So let's let me just describe it to you. So the Wheel of Inspiration has 5 steps, and it's a heart with kind of concentric hearts. So the first step is to just stop, feel, and breathe. And really, by doing that, to connect in with yourself. So just take a moment to do that right now, just to feel your body from the inside and connect with yourself. And acknowledge any just any feelings, any tensions, any stresses, any thoughts that might be going around your head. And know that everything is perfect right now, just as it is. Oftentimes there's parts of us that get triggered up because they don't like change, so they may be making themselves known. But the next step for the Wheel of Inspiration is to actually want something, to want to go for something in your life. Now, this could be in the area of one of the classical areas of life, which could be your health and vitality. It could be in the area of wealth and your financial situation. It could be wealth in the bigger picture. It could be in the area of relationships. It could be in the area of really living your life purpose, really feeling that you're engaged with your passion on a daily basis. But it could also be, if you wanted to make a change in your life, it could also be something like your relationship with time, your relationship with your own energy, with your own life force. So it could be you want to feel more alive every day. It could be you want to feel like you've got more time to do the things you want to do. It could be that you want to have more amazing relationships in your life that really nourish and it, you know, really inspire you. Whichever it is, that whatever you want to pick, it could be something totally different. But it's the idea is to the way the tool works is to pick something, pick an area of life and identify a change. And we're going to talk more about that a bit later. Step is to take daily action with that. So it's all good being an ideas person, having a great idea. It's kind of up in the mind. You're imagining it. But there's certainly a space, there's certainly a necessity to take that effort, to make daily action, to show up and start moving forward, start taking steps forward towards the thing that it is that you want. And don't worry if it might not be the right steps, because you might take a few steps forward and go, hey, oh, that's a dead end, I've got to go in this other direction, but you learned something. So that's about taking steps forward. The next stage is the really powerful one, and this stage is in terms of how you engage with your resistance. Now, if you pick a goal that's really, let me just say, too easy for you, and it's just super easy, it could be something that, you know, is just a case of doing it, and it doesn't really isn't really going to create the best month of your life. You could go through your month and you could take that action and you could do that, but it doesn't really trigger up your fears. It doesn't really give you butterflies. It doesn't really make you a little bit afraid. And so that's how you know maybe you need to go for something a bit bigger, something that does excite you, something that does make you feel, oh, God, what have I done? I've committed to this thing, right? On the flip side of that is, if you go for something that's like way bigger than you've ever done before, say you're a regular person, and you suddenly decide to yourself, right, I'm going to become a millionaire and I'm going to do it this month, and you're just working at a regular job. I'm not saying that's impossible. Okay, nothing is impossible. But what I am saying is that there's a high chance that, in trying to go for that all so quickly, that your fears are going to get stirred up, possibly to a point where they're really a lot bigger than your desire to go forward and get your goal. And sometimes these goals take some time. So within a month, it may be that you want to feel like you've taken a tangible step forward, like the first step, and take that sustainably. Because if you go for something that triggers up your fears and resistance too strongly, it's not setting it up for success. You may be setting yourself up for failure. And we want to make it so that we can get success, and we build this muscle of getting what we want and then stretching a bit further. So butterflies in the stomach are good. A feeling of absolute terror is not good. So this is how we can calibrate the things that we're going for in life. Is it scaring the shit out of me in a bad way, or is it kind of not exciting enough? And we want to get that in the middle. Does that make sense? So there's a little tool that you can use. And then the thing is that, when you get your resistance, when you come up against your resistance, how do you deal with that? How does that go down? And, a lot of schools of self-development end up being this kind of, hey, you're doing really, really well. And then, oh no, the resistance has come in and spoilt it. Try and get rid of all that fear and doubt and just get on with having a good time and creating what you want to create. But find is that I don't want to I want to get rid of my resistance. It's a part of me. And I want to do alchemy. I want to eat my fear for breakfast. I want to take my fear, take those parts of me that are afraid, and love them to smithereens and turn them into my most powerful allies. I don't want to throw away those parts of myself. I want to bring them on board and give them a useful job to do, make sure their needs are being met, and help on board. Now, if this is sounding a bit like woo woo or mumbo jumbo to you, just remember what we said at the start. Just be open to the fact that there may be different parts that want different things, and the challenge is to get them all lined up and on the same page. And you know, you may also say, well, look, yeah, I tried, but I didn't like it. You know, people might pour water on your embers to like put out, but at the end of it, to you. And you know, oftentimes when you go for change, the people around you may not be supportive. If you're lucky, they will be, but maybe it challenges them when you're going for something in your life. So my invitation, in whatever comes, don't blame someone else. Look at yourself and see, well, what am I doing to create that resistance? And can you use that? Can you convert that rocket fuel? I've been working with this for a while. I'd say the same thing. Really beautiful one is the work of Byron Katie. Questions that limiting beliefs, like we talked about earlier. Just go to the work doc, unblock the energy that's stuck in some of those beliefs, and to be not blocked by those beliefs. I'm also going to give a shout out to my man Kaleo Salah, and he's my shadow dragon coach, and he's helping me to really hunt out urge and use them as give me this heart practice. Beautiful, powerful. He's on Facebook, so it's Kaleo. Now the final part of this wheel of inspiration, the heart that encapsulates everything else, is it's about tribe. It's about sharing with other people. It's about mentors. It's about who are the people that you could surround yourself with that would help you to get clarity, to find inspiration, and to really help, you know, really, who are the people that you want around you in this journey that are going to be celebrating your successes? And like I noticed, oftentimes when I say to people, well, who could you share this with? They pick people. They think, oh yeah, well, that person really needs it. That person really needs it. That person definitely needs it. They're really negative. And sure, there may be, you know, there may be some truth in it. However, who do you want around with you on the journey? And this isn't to say that you're, you know, cutting off friendships or so. This is to say, be new friendships and make yourself available to new connections with people who inspire you. Now, it may be by video. It may be people who are side by side with you, taking on a challenge, creating the best month of their life. Around you really help to kind of anchor and crystallize your reality. So choose wisely and choose where you put. So that's the wheel of inspiration. So that the 5 steps, just to recap, is first, the center heart is to really go into yourself and really connect with your body. And the second step is to get clear on what it is that you want. And want something, and don't be ashamed to have a desire, and trust that it's in service. Trust that, you know, when I was training for Hawaii, one of the things is selfish, and I thought being selfish was wrong. And I thought, well, I'm going to get on this aeroplane, I'm going to fly from Australia to Hawaii, I'm going to go race this race, and who cares? It's just for me. It's just selfish. All that, you know, that fuel that's being burnt, adding to my carbon footprint, it's so selfish. And, you know, triathlon is a selfish sport. The amount of power and energy and inspiration that got unlocked in that led me on to my next step, which was being a Steiner teacher, and totally changed things around in my life. And when I tell the story of that race, which I may tell you at some point in full, people get inspired, people get goosebumps, and people feel, you know. So I didn't know at the time how that was going to help other people, but that not everybody, but some people feel inspired when I share those stories, you know. And it certainly inspired me, you know. And I'm racing in the Ironman, and I got home and people say to me, oh, I could never do that. And I'm just thinking there, well, there was a dude with one leg who swam past me in the swim, and not an excuse. So so much inspiration. So I got off track a little bit, but just coming back to the wheel of inspiration, want something and go for it. Step was over on the right side is take action, move forward, do something every day. Let your commitment be evidenced by your daily actions. And then the third, well, it's actually the fourth part that over here, this is to do with how do you deal with your resistance? Resistance right now, you might be thinking, oh God, Dunstan's going backwards and forward all over the place, and I can't see the picture, and I'm a visual person, and you know, so how do you deal with your stuff? How do you deal with it? Like, how do you meet your resistance? How do you find those parts of yourself? We've talked about it. The final thing that surrounds it all is creating your tribe, your community, your people who are open to this way of looking at the world, and they want to engage it in that way, rather than just going, oh yeah, terrible day outside, isn't it? Well, yeah, traffic was bad, you know, all these things that people by default often just sell to each other. Nothing wrong with it, but you know, if you want to create exceptional results in your life, if you want to create results that 95% of people don't get, well, you've done the first step by being here and showing up and maybe writing down something that you want. And be prepared to do things that 95% of people won't do. So it might be staying up late if you feel inspired and working on it. It might be getting up early to do something first thing in the day that's going to set you up. It might be saying no to going to the pub and hanging out with people that don't inspire you on that occasion, because there's something else that you want to do more. You just want some time to yourself. So that's the part of the piece about tribe there, and who you surround yourself with. So let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to cover off. Yes, there is. And what I wanted to talk about was different kinds of intelligence. And so we are generally define intelligence as, okay, and having been to Cambridge, I can tell you there's a lot of very, very intelligent people in Cambridge. And some of those people are not very intelligent in the heart department. They're not very intelligent in their gut department. So mind intelligence is one kind of intelligence. And I think, for me, I think the mind makes a fantastic servant, but a poor master. And if you're going to create a life where you're constantly opening to new possibilities, the mind has a place in that, but it's driven from the heart. And if you've ever been in a situation where you just had a feeling about something, you just knew, experienced gut intelligence there. Okay, now this might sound way weird if you've never heard it before, but what if you could be open to it? Like, you know, we've got that expression which say, I just got a gut feeling that something was wrong. And how many times does that happen and you're right? So gut intelligence it's very, very simple. It's not complex. It's like, it doesn't flit around and dance around. It's just like, I just knew. Heart intelligence is about connection and openness and really feeling. And mind intelligence can be quite quick, and you know, it can change from one moment to the next. So that's where maybe you can start to see that sometimes those things aren't real if they change from one moment to the next. You know, I've had this, like, where I'd be hitchhiking and I'd be in a terrible mood and no one was picking me up, and then I did that thing of letting go, and before I knew what, I was on the back of this guy's ute and he was handing me organic fruit out the window, and I was looking back and watching this most amazing sunset in Hawaii, and life was amazing. And 20 minutes earlier I'd been cold and it was nearly dark and I was worried about where I was going to stay, and And so these are just thoughts that just change. So I encourage you to experiment with those different intelligences. Rudolf Steiner talks about the head, the hands, and the heart as different ways of learning. So you know, there's happen with each of those, and you know, it's like, what do we want? Well, up here we want to have that real clarity of intention. In here we want to have this, in the heart we want to have this compelling feeling, this feeling of how are you going to feel when you've achieved what you want to achieve at the end of the month. So that heart intelligence can help to propel us forward. And you know, another way of thinking about the gut intelligence, it really links to those simple daily actions that you do, your will to do things. And of course, you go along and you review and you adjust. So we're going to come to a little meditation. There is so much more that I want to share with you, and I hope that in the future that we'll do that. But I want to respect your time, and I want to give you something to take away, and I want to let you know that if you enjoy this and you find this useful, then the ultimate gratitude, the thing I want most is that you go and implement it and live an awesome life with it. You know, use it to really live and challenge yourself to go for more in your life. Now this there's also you know, if you want to be surrounded by a tribe of people who are doing this, I know some of the people listening here live already signed up for the 28 Days of Courage to share that with other people and to be supported. I mean, imagine if you surround yourself with other people that are also going for the best month of their life. You know, 1 and 1 makes 3, and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 makes infinity. So we can start to support each other in that. I'm not going to go on about 28 Days of Courage too much, but it is a space where that accountability is there, and it's a space, it's very simple. It's about taking a daily action going forward every day in order to get something that you want, that resonates with you, that maybe scares you a little bit. So it's probably the last time I'm going to run it in that format, because I'm actually working on something much bigger, a program that I signed up to, which was like, and it turned up. It was like that Goethe quote. It turned up perfectly at the perfect time. So I jumped in, committed to doing this course, and this is you're going to start to see the results of that. You're going to start to see me putting myself out there in a new way, and helping people, helping more people more powerfully in new ways. So so hence why this 28 Days of Courage is probably the last time it's going to run in this format. So that starts on the 1st of June. 28daysofcourage.com will get you there with the number 2 and the number 8. But you know, if that's, you know, if you're excited by that, then jump in and go for it. But what I want to do, I want to wrap up by just to help us to get into this a state where we can really access all these forms of intelligence. And we're just going to do a brief version, but again, I may share some of this in more detail in the future. And what I want you to do is just to get yourself comfortable, yourself down, and just get in a space where you can sit with your spine upright and you can close your eyes. I really encourage you to close your eyes so you can go inside and feel this. And you may even like to stand up. So I want you to just imagine that there is a golden ball that has above your head and is starting to drip pure liquid gold down into the top of your head, through the top of your crown. And just so we're clear, this golden globe represents your most potent and powerful self. You could think of it as your inner knowing, you could think of it as your heart, you could think of it as your higher self, but this is your absolute magnificence. And you're going to start to just allow that to fill you up from the inside. And so it's dripping down inside you, and these drips are accumulating inside your toes. It's dripping all the way down because you're hollow on the inside, and it's now starting to fill up your feet. You just feel that liquid gold pulsating inside your feet, and as it keeps on dripping in, it's going to start to fill up to your ankles and up your shins, to your knees. So your lower legs now full of this liquid gold. And just keep breathing and letting more of it in. And it's now filling up your thighs, coming up to your legs, filling up, coming up to your hips. And just filling you, your own brilliance, your own magnificence, your own power. And it's starting to overflow up into your belly, up through your stomach into your heart. The inside of you is now starting to fill up with this liquid gold that's you in all of your magnificence, your power, your beauty, your strength, your kindness. And it's now filling up and overflowing through your collarbones, through your shoulders, down to your elbows, and it's filling you up now from your fingertips as well into your hands. Your hands are being filled up with liquid gold on the inside. You just feel the tingling on the inside of your hands. Or if you can't feel it, just know that there's just imagine that sensation. We're using the imagination here to connect with this, that may be a new experience. And the wrists are now filling up. The lower arm is filling up all the way up to the elbows, the upper arm, and it's connecting to the gold in the torso, the liquid gold, your most magical, potent, and magnificent self. And it's now dripping, continually dripping until it's going up in your neck, and it's filling up the entirety of your head from the inside until you're full to overflowing, full of liquid gold, your magnificence. And now imagine that you're this golden globe above your head is continuing to drip the liquid gold, and it's spilling around you, and it's filling up the space around you in the shape of a sphere. And you're now immersed in this liquid gold from the outside as well, and you're now on the inside of a much bigger sphere that's encompassing you. This is all of your space that you're going to fill up, your potential, until eventually you are in the middle of this golden ball full of liquid gold, liquid gold inside you. And as you sit there inside, just notice that the gold is becoming lighter, and it's starting to vibrate higher and just turning into pure light. And the light is bouncing around inside you and outside you and energizing you. And it's just moving at the speed of light, just back and forth, until eventually there's nothing left but just empty space full of illumination on the inside of your body and on the outside. What I want you to do now is just slowly keep your eyes closed, but slowly come back to the present moment. Come back to right now, feeling the ground, feeling the chair if you're sitting down. Do is just to think, what area is it in your life where you want some change? What area is it where you want more of something, or you want something to be different? And just jot that down. If you think to yourself, you ask yourself on your heart and a hand on your belly to encourage those different intelligences to contribute. You just ask yourself, if you haven't already got an area, what's the area of my life where I want to get some change? And then ask yourself, what is it that I can do every day that's going to support me in getting that? So if you haven't already, open your eyes and write those things down. We want to just check that those two things match up with each other. We want the action to be super simple. And we want the why of why you want it to be something that you really feel, and also something that maybe scares you just a little bit. to imagine you've come to the end of the month. It's the 1st of July. And as we talked about before, I want you to imagine looking back on your month of June, actions every day, having got the thing that you, having made a big step that you wanted to make in your life, you're looking back, and how do you feel with that feeling in your body? And the feeling in the, yeah, that's great, that's amazing. And what next? You know, what's my next? Where's my next? You know, it's like a feeling of, yes, I want more of this. So this never ends. I'd love to hear your feedback on this video. I'm not going to say a whole load more, but what I will say is, if you've got something written down, 28 Days of Courage is all about this. It's about helping you to follow through and keep taking those action, keep going through the month. So I'm going to sign off there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for looking at me the whole hour when I was hoping to show you some slides, and I will be improving with that. And I hope to see you again sometime, and just drop me a message. Let me know how you found this webinar. I hope it's been of service to you. And yeah, I guess I'm just going to finish with a quick recap of what we've been through. We talked about who was the webinar for, who is this guy dancing in front of you, and what's he done in his life that maybe could give him experience that could be helpful. We looked at some clues for the journey. We talked about setting yourself up for some success, inspiration. I mentioned some of the next step things that you can do if you want to, and we went through that manifestation to connect with manifesting power. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to sign off. We've run over by a few minutes, but thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing how this was for you. Thanks.